and wiping the floors. And I asked him, I said, was it daylight? I said, I slept. I fell asleep and they messed my damn train completely. Never woke up to daylight that day. So I had nothing left to do but go and try to get the next train out, which I did. I was a little late getting back, but no repercussions. I did, I guess, what I had to do. But I was an awful sound sleeper. In fact, anyway, you get me up for guard duty sometimes. One guy said, he said, you notice I dropped the belt. I dropped, he was supposed to hand me the belt, and you dropped that on your pant. And he said, I wouldn't get near you. He said, I saw you take a poke at a guy with water trying to wake you up, and that happened to me. Okay, now we were at, where we were.
You got back from leave.
Yeah.
You went down to Norfolk again.
Norfolk, and then they shipped us up by train, and I think it was about at least a 3-day, maybe a 3.5-day trip to San Francisco. And we were there only a short time. That's when our beach jumper unit 5 got back together. The first 5 beach jumper units were back together again. And they shipped us to Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was well secured at the time. There's no problems there. But I remember shipping out of San Francisco in February of 1945. I remember the first night out, going under the San Francisco Bay Bridge. I got on the fantail of the ship and just looked into space. I was all by myself. I said, I wonder where the hell we're going. I don't know where the hell we're going. I don't know how long we're going to be gone. And I sure the hell don't know when we're coming back. But I said that was the end of my reminiscence. After that, but it did. It was a different feeling I ever had before. You're going into a real question mark. So we got to Pearl Harbor, and it wasn't long before they had us on another ship. They sent us to the Mariana Islands and over in Guam. That's where I spent probably the longest tenure of my whole service, except for Greece up there in Yugoslavia, was the island of Guam. And they got us there, and not only us, there's many units of other types of armies, all storing their stuff, preparing for the big onslaught on Japan, and it was coming. There's no question about it. It was coming. And of course we had all our stuff stored, but to make a use of us, they had a stevedore. They'd have us up at 4 o'clock in the morning, hot as hell, down to fold of those ships, putting stuff in the cargo nets, sweating like hell. And we've seen cockroaches at the bottom of that ship sometimes that big. Never knew the cockroaches got that big. But anyway, we did that, and then we got word, a little bit of scuttlebutt, that the war is going to be over pretty soon. This was in August. And a couple of days after that, they dropped the atom bomb. And of course that turned everything around. That turned, a lot of people said we should have never done it. I'll say this, if they were aware, if they were right there at the time, and see what has already happened, and what was going to happen was going to be even worse than what had already happened. I think they might have thought just a little bit differently, because of course we know what happened after the peace was signed, and they shipped us back to Pearl Harbor. That's where I picked up a seagoing tug. I was a radar man. I was generally a radar man on a seagoing tug, and we took in tow some of these ships. We only had one, but there are other ships being brought to the graveyard in Benicia, California. We brought them in, and they would, there's a little bay there, they would just drop it down the water a little bit. They wouldn't sink them, but they'd leave all that equipment and stuff on there. And of course, that kind of broke my heart. I had to see how some of that stuff was rated, and people just helped themselves to it. And I did see a lot of waste. I saw stuff go over the side, stuff like that. But I guess that's part of the And I'm sure if they did it back then, they probably did it, maybe doing it more so today, I don't know.
I don't know either.
And so we got back to Mare Island. I was at station at Mare Island. And every time I
What's
got
that again?
Mare Island is right near San Francisco in California.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a naval base. And let's see. Yeah, I got there, I think it was right around January probably. I had enough points to get out. You had to have points in order to be discharged. I had to be discharged. I had enough points, but they had to have I had to have a radar replacement on the tug. And it took a long time. I had my sea bags all packed. I bet you I had my sea bags packed for at least 6 weeks. And as soon as that guy come aboard, I asked, "Are you a radar man?" He said, "Yeah." I took off as quick as that. And then I went down and they asked me where I wanted to go for discharge. I had my choice. I could have got discharged with San Francisco. I could have gone to Boston, or I could have gone to Lido Beach. You know, I chose Lido Beach. I went come back to Lido Beach and took my discharge there. So
How do you spell that, Fred?
What's that?
How do you spell that?
L-I-D-O.
Lido Beach.
Lido Beach, L-I-D-O, Lido Beach. And come home from there, and I got, oh, by the way, I was discharged on the 18th of March, 1946. 18th of March. So I come home, like everybody else, we come home and we're all looking for things to do, and there wasn't a hell of a lot of opportunities of job-wise and everything, so, but the government, they had this, what they call it, it was either the 5220 or 2052 club, I forget now what it was, I think it was the 5220, where they give you so much a week for like $50 a week or something for $50 20 weeks for 20 weeks, or vice versa. Well, I never joined that. Never joined that because I figured that that's just going to be a stalling thing, and I'm not going to be able to. And if I don't get active doing something, I might be hurting my future because you get in habits. Because when I first go home, I was a little before I wondered if I'd ever go to adapt to back to the civilian life that I used to do. Well, it didn't take long before I took advantage. Now they had this GI Bill, what would help enormously. A lot of the folks stayed in the service. A lot of them went on to college educations. I went on to what they call on-the-job training. That's where the government would subsidize the employer that hired a fellow. And I stayed on that until I got some direction, know what the hell I wanted to do. And, then of course I got married after that, and I found out I wasn't making enough money to support a family, so I said, I can't stay in this. Yeah, I worked for Charles Cooper Company, nice business. They manufactured knitting machines, and knitting machines needles, spring needles and latch needles. We shipped them all over the world. And so I worked in the office there, and I used to hand out the paychecks and stuff like that.
Where was that company?
That was right on Main Street, right next to where Barnhart's funeral home, but I went back. It's been, most of it's been torn, I guess it's all been torn down now, I don't know. And but I've had a lot of good old solid Vermonters there. Believe me, boy, they call them rednecks, whatever you want to call them. They were real people. And I really enjoyed that. But one day I got thinking, oh, I'll tell you what got me out of that really. Is they had that wasn't unionized, but they had a cost of living raise, I guess, for everybody. And of course I handed out the paychecks, and I noticed I didn't get it. So I went to the new guy just took over. Old John Hayes was a real gentleman. He's the guy that hired me. New guy took over, and I said, I noticed that I didn't get that cost of living raise. He said, well, you just got one 2 or 3 weeks ago. According to their contract, on-the-job training contract. So I looked up, if I remember saying this, I've been a man of very few. I'm talking more now, and I probably haven't, so honest.
It's okay.
And I looked up at him and I said, He said, you just forget I ever asked you for anything. Just forget it. Right then I had made up my mind I wasn't going to be there very long, and I wasn't. I always, as a kid, I was always selling something, going, knocking on doors, things like that. I said, I like to sell cars. So what the hell, I went down to Eddie Fruit, just opened up a Ford dealership in Bennington. And I said, Eddie, I said, you're going to need salesmen down the road. I said, I haven't had any experience, but I would like to give it a try. He said, yeah, I'll hire you. He said, I'll hire you. And he said, $25 a week in commissions. Well, let me tell you, I had quite a few weeks there with just the $25. And it took me a while to get some sales on it right now. But I liked it very much.
Where was the Ford dealership?
The Ford dealership right now, it's where the the gas stations are over there.
Like the shortstop?
At the end of Hunt Street, at the end.
Oh yeah, I know where you mean.
Off of Agway, I guess, is on one side or something like that. The bus terminals over there, the bus, like school buses. And he people a brand new garage there. I stayed there until that was in 1950, I think. No, I got married in 1950. That's right. I got married July 1st, 1950. I stayed. That was later in 1950, I guess, when I made the change because I married again. And so I started selling cars. Next thing I knew, I kind of liked it. I was making fairly good money. And then, of course, I worked, prior to that, I had, from 1942 until I went to service in 1943, I had posted as a part-time substitute clerk in the post office. I worked Saturdays down this post office, so I had my feet in the door there. And I kind of liked that work because I was meeting people and stuff like that. And so, I come back, selling cars, and then I went from in 1950, 56, 1950, my dad died in 1956. That's when I left Metropolitan. I was with Metropolitan going on 11 years, 10 years, just long enough to be invested for a little bit of pension, which I get today. I get $79.28 a month. So that's why you stay long enough to get the rest of it. Then I went from there to the postmastership was coming up in North Bennington. Of course, I had some postal experience. So that was all politics. You don't have to say that was all politics. and I was appointed temporary postmaster in 1968. Yeah, 1968. And it took me 3 years before I was appointed postmaster. That's when they had all the changes that were going on. That's when we sold our souls to the American Can Company, as far as I was concerned, because they brought in management that didn't help the Postal Service one bit. They brought people that maybe they were smart men. They didn't know how to run a postal system, I'll tell you that. Not only him, the next guy was from the same outfit. So anyway, they took it out of politics. So I had to go ahead and try to get it on my own, and I did. But that was in 1971, 3 years. So I was postmaster from 71 until 1983. The Jimmy Carter years and stuff like that. In '83, I got started getting sick. I mean, I would push myself a little too much, and that's when I went to Michigan on a vacation. I took a week off to go to Michigan with my wife. I got out there. My daughter noticed right off the bat that I wasn't myself. And I stayed for a few days. I said, I got to go back Tuesday because I got a quarterly report's got to be in the mail next day. And she said, before you go back, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. She said, will you go down to the clinic here and have me check you? So I went to the library with her down there, and got me in there, and they took my blood count. And course, when he took my blood, the poor one, I don't think it was too experienced because I ended up with more blood on the floor than my daughter didn't know what to think. Well, anyway, they put me right in the hospital. And this old doctor, Dr. Cram, what a nice gentleman he was. What a good guy. He was, in fact, he just retired a few years ago, but he's still active, like yourself. He doesn't going to keep him down. Well,
Who was this again? Doctor who?
Cram. C-R-A-M.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Cram. He started, I think he started these things like you did out there in Michigan. So, he got me in a hospital, and I remember the first time I saw him coming in, I was in bed there. I had a couple of candy bars in my drawer, and he looked down at me, and he said, I got some reports here, they took some tests. And I said, well, I hope I'm not going to go keep you, because I got to be back before. He said, you ain't going anywhere right now. He said, you know, you've got a cholesterol, I think 292 cholesterol. You've got a 575 triglyceride, and on top of that, you weigh 246 pounds, you're obese. About that time, I was ready to jump out of bed. But how true it was. I mean, what the hell? He got to me enough to know that he wasn't kidding. So we kept me there, and I was late getting back. And I got back, and after that, I knew that my time was limited because I didn't have it anymore. I just didn't. Things were getting so bureaucratic in the post office and stuff like that. I said, I think I've had on enough. So that's when I got sick, and that's when you come in the picture, doctor. You come in the picture. That was in I think in fall of 1983, and you have been with me ever since. You kept me going.
It's my pleasure.
Well, tell you, that's something I started.
I never would have heard a story like this if I hadn't kept you going.
You certainly did, and you still are. So, let's see, so that gets me back to, yeah, I retired. I've been retired now since 1984, and enjoying my retirement quite a bit. Yeah.
Fred, you said you had did you have trouble acclimating yourself to being a civilian again?
Yes, that was it. Even though I was only gone 3 years. There was a period there, quite a little period there, I was a little bit apprehensive. I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to be as Fred Driscoll as I was. Not that I suffered any tragic turmoil overseas, but just the idea that so much happened in such a short period of time, and it just changed everybody's lives. And thank God, majority of people did use the GI Bill to their advantage. There were a few that liked the 5220 club and ended up on so-called public welfare, and the next thing you know, they were on public welfare, and then the next generation. Well, thank God there was only a few of those, so, but because that was needed, but some folks never had the so-called ambition, what you want to call it, to move on. They figured the world only was living. That's true.
Did you notice that North Bennington had changed over that 3-year period when you were
Not as far as logistics or things is concerned. I mean, Freddie Wellen was still in charge of things we knew were getting done, and but like the social life I'm trying to talk about probably. People were attending all the festivities at the bars and stuff like that, and that's where I got interested in instead of going to the state line down there. Of course, I know the man that runs the state line. He had horses. He raced them at Saratoga. That's where I got interested, and so I used to drive a truck over, and I'd go to Saratoga, and I got interested in horses. So I try to usually find something that I like, rather than something wishy-washy that I didn't know. And so I've always had that for the rest of my life. I love being around horses. And So eventually that left me. As far as my service, I never gave it an awful lot of thought after that. You didn't talk about it. You were too interested in getting on with your life, and you knew you did what you're supposed to do, and you're thankful. I'm probably thankful for so many things, and I don't know. I guess I can't understand how I'm still alive, to tell you the truth. Not that I've accomplished any great things. It's just that I've had a lot of medical problems that I've was able to weather, but with the help of God, I guess I've been lucky.
You have been.
Yeah.
Now tell me, did you know any other, can you remember any of the other men that entered the service at around the same time you did, and are any of them left?
No, I would say most of them are gone, and some of them had very good careers, and of course a lot of them never got home. Got guys that Bud Gordon that I went to school with, he got killed over the Battle of the Bulge, and there's others. Malcolm Coach, he lived right up the street here, just a couple houses up. And he never come back. He was.
What was his name again?
Malcolm Cooch, C-O-U-C-H. Malcolm Cooch. Of course, I remember some of the older ones. I remember Blackie White. He was an officer. He was on the. He lost his life at or on the down there in the Philippines, I think, and then in Bataan. And then I remember they had that death march in Bataan.
That's right.
Well, I know that Cole, a guy by the name of Cole, he lost his life there, and. As I say, Blackie White, they were just a little bit older than I was.
They were, say that again, Blackie?
His nickname was Blackie. Charles was his first name. Charles Blackie White. And of course I knew a lot of those people that went down on the Coolidge. They were National Guard here, and they were all Bennington. I remember the day they shipped out here. They let us out of school that day. Watched them ship out. I could see that just as plain right now, shipping out. And a few of those didn't come back. Most of them did. But they survived the shipwreck over in the South Pacific. And I tell you who's still left on it. Two guys I can think are still left, and they're both older than I am. It's Ralph Brown, who's a commander, has several times been the commander of the American Legion. He was on the Coolidge. And of course Joe Wasik, or Joe Crossick, he had a great military career, and let's see, Winnie Gates, I saw him at the, you know Winnie Gates?
I do.
Yeah, I can see, he's older than I am, but boy, he's a tough man.
Yeah.
He was only a teenager. He had to be a very young guy at the time. Because this was in 41 when he left, and well, if he was 20 years old, maybe 21, born in 20, but I think he was younger than that. So, and there are other ones. I remember a lot of them have all deceased. I remember Louis Butler. These are people that survivors that came home and have since have long ago. There's a lot of them that I knew a lot of them personally. That have since. They survived the war, but they have since passed on.
Is Winfield Gates still okay?
What's that?
Is Winfield Gates still okay?
Oh yes, you'll see him over the outside, all the feeds and all the steak nights and all the we had ceremonies.
I'm gonna have to look him up.
Yeah. Winnie Gates.
Where was he born? Was he born here?
He's a real Vermonter. He's right here. Benning, his father ran a barber shop for years. Winnie Gates.
That's right.
If you get a hold of Winnie Gates, there's nobody has yet.
I don't think anybody has.
Winnie Gates, well, he still got it up here. Tough man.
Yeah, I know him, so I'm gonna try and get a hold of him.
Yeah.
I bet he'd give a interview almost as good as yours.
I don't know how good mine was, but I know that I had a lot of laughs with that man. He used to have a camp up in Wilmington there,
Yeah.
and he used to bind us up, and we worked together. Of course, I worked too. I always had more than one job. Right? I worked as a postmaster. I was here. After I got out of work here, I go down and I worked. I was a teller down at the seller down at the Green Mountain racetrack. Stayed there until I got sick. So I always had a lot of jobs. And one time, in an interim period, while I was waiting to pick up this temporary post officership, there was a period of I had no insurance or anything. And so after I stayed at the track, I was able to pick up some insurance. And I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go over to the Benning post office and unload those trailers. And then after that, sometimes I'd go back. I worked in the parts department at Bill Hogan's. Made trips for him up around Rutland, delivering parts, taking orders. And what else did I do? I had another job. Then I went to the track. I had 4 jobs that we were going all at the same time. But I got through them all, and I didn't go broke. I had borrowed more money at times. I remember going to the bank many times and getting a $300 loan for a short period of time. It only cost $3. Until one day I went in there and they said, this will be, you have an extra charge there. I said, what's that for? He said, well, we have to have a credit check or something. I looked at him, I said, I've been coming here for years. I said, this is the last time you'll see me in here. I never go back.
Oh, that's a great story, Fred.
But I am so thankful. I am so thankful. My wife worked hard. I felt good that I wanted to make sure that she was home taking care of the family. I figured that was more important than anything else, and that's why I didn't mind doing the extra work. And I don't regret. I don't resent. I don't regret. And I can be thankful. I got some pretty good offspring that are pretty important people, and they're very successful people in life too.
You're right. So I feel like I know your whole family, having taken care of you and your wife.
Well, you are always so good to us.
Well, thank you again. We're gonna figure out the technology. Connor knows how to download this into his computer. Then we make these little flash drives, they're called. So this whole conversation that we've had will be on this little recorder, and we will bring you a copy.
Okay.
And we'll take whatever things you can give us.
Maybe I'll have
And we'll, if you could ever find a picture of yourself in your Navy days, that would be great.
I still got my Navy blues up in that barn somewhere.
Really?
Tailor-made, for Christ's sake. I paid I think about $80, so that's a lot of money back then. But I wore them once and split it. They were tight. I had to wreck out it.
Well, thank you again.
Okay. I